Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming out today. I am so happy that the weather has cooperated with us and it's not an icy day. The last couple of days were kind of crazy. It's just slightly rainy, but I'll take the rain because it is warmer. I would like to thank you all for attending the National Gun Violence Survivors Week Proclamation ceremony. This is the 6th year the Mayors Against Illegal Guns have recognized a week to bring needed attention to end gun violence in our communities. Now, gun violence does more than take an individual life. It impacts their families and their communities. Today, we will hear from some individuals whose lives were forever changed by an act of violence through the usage of a gun. First, we will hear from Gina Pelusi. Gina, who is a member of Pittsburgh Moms Demand Action, lost her mother to gun violence more than 6 years ago. Let's welcome Gina.
Thank you. Thank you to Mayor Gainey for having us here. I'm grateful to be here, but frankly, I'm very, very angry that we are. We are standing here today to commemorate the 6th National Gun Violence Survivors Week, which means there was a first and a second and a third and a fourth and a fifth and a sixth, and there probably is going to be a 7th. And that makes me very angry. And it makes me very angry to stand here looking out at so many people who have been personally impacted by gun violence, because these numbers are growing. 120 Americans are shot and killed in this country every single day. I'm angry that I'm standing here because nearly 10 years ago, my mother, Ruthann Giamatorio Lodato, answered the front door of our home in broad daylight, and a man that she did not know opened fire and killed her. My mother was a kind and gentle woman. She was a woman of faith. She was a music teacher. She was the love of my dad's life, and she was my mother. We are truly now a nation of survivors. With these numbers growing at the rate that they are, it's not a matter of if, it's when. When is gun violence going to come and impact you individually? All of us that are here doing this work, we're doing this work because we don't want it to happen to your mother or your neighbor or your child. When is the ownership going to stop being on us to do the heavy lifting? We are the ones living with the grief and the trauma. It's incredibly unfair to ask us to change these laws and change this culture in this country on top of everything else. My mom was killed on February 6th, 2014, so it's almost been 10 years. And people have been coming to me and telling me their favorite memories of my mom, things that they miss about her. And one of the things people keep saying is how much they miss her laugh. And the horrible part is that I had forgotten about it, because I sit in this place all the time of trauma and pain and living what she went through that day 10 years ago, because I want to change something in this country. And the reality is, we have elected people who have the power to do something about it. So my hope is that while we probably will have a 7th, that there won't be an 8th or a 9th, and that people in this country who we elected to do something will actually stand up and do something about it.
Ooh, okay. When you hear stories such as these, I want people to understand that we're not here for people to relive their traumas. We're here to put faces to gun violence. I think sometimes it's easy to ignore the true impact of gun violence because we think it's just, that's okay. We think it's just numbers. We don't see the face, we don't see the emotion, we don't feel the pain. And it's hard to relive those trauma. And these individuals who are speaking today are opening and showing us their scars so we can understand the need to take illegal guns off the street, the need to combat gun violence. At this time, I want you to know the city sees the best way to deal with this epidemic, and make no mistake about it. Gun violence is an epidemic. It's an epidemic. It's taking us out. We are creating a form of genocide against ourselves. And maybe we can look at the Terminator movie and think, hey, the machines might rule the world because us as people, we're not loving and respecting upon one another. And that's part of the gun violence. The next speaker is a supervisor. No, excuse me, I'm sorry. Our next speaker is a community activist, Leon Ford, the co-founder of the HERE Foundation, who's working on gun violence prevention and mental health. Leon? This side.
Hello, everyone. My name is Leon Ford, and I am the Director of External Affairs for the HERE Foundation. I sit here before you today hopeful. And as I heard today, gun violence is an epidemic, but hopelessness is also an epidemic. One of the reasons why I'm so hopeful is because as I look around the room here today, and as I work throughout the communities here in Pittsburgh, there are so many people dedicated to identifying and focusing on the root causes of violence to prevent it from happening again. We all have a responsibility to public safety. And one of my favorite things about Pittsburgh is that we are all 1 degree of separation away from somebody we need to know. Which also means we all have experienced the loss of someone that we love to violence. So what happens when we collaborate? I was a victim of violence. However, I decided to focus on healing. I decided to turn my pain into purpose. You know, when I sat down with the officer who shot me, there was a moment of healing and reconciliation. When we collaborated, when I built a relationship with our former chief of police, Scott Schubert, and we got, community activists, we got, corporate folks, police officers, judges, together to focus on the root causes. We focus on mental health, we focus on workforce development, we focus on gun violence reduction. Today I was fortunate enough to meet with our public safety director, Lee Schmidt, and our new chief of police, Larry Scarrato, and we are all committed, and so my words today to you all is to embrace, embrace your power, standing into your power. Don't be defeated. I know what it's like to go to a funeral. I know what it's like to lose loved ones and family members to gun violence. I know what it's like to go to the hospital to encourage someone not to retaliate. But when we step into our power, when we use moments like this as a moment to collaborate, to work together, to spread hope and healing, we can really change the face of our city and our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Leon, for those inspiring words. It's not easy to move forward sometimes from adversity, but that just shows your character when you can. Is Miss Tiffany Huff here? Miss Tiffany Huff? Okay. All right, our next speaker, and I would like to say she is a supervisor with the city's REACH program who unfortunately lost her brother to gun violence in 2008. Let's welcome Ms. Vagon Rivers. Oh, I am sorry. Misidentified. All right. I appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Melvina Daniels. I'm the program director for the Center That Cares, also a volunteer member with the REACH organization, and I'm also the owner of Beyond Blessed Catering.
Sorry for the confusion, y'all. My name is Vaughn Rivers. I am a supervisor at REACH Outreach, the city's violence prevention program. Me and Melvina Daniels are close friends and colleagues and co-directors at the Center That Cares. So sorry for that. We chose to come here together today to stand arm in arm, quickly tell you our story. Born and raised here in the city, my story is not important, but I first want to thank God for the opportunity to speak in front of y'all that I'm here today. Violence, gun violence specifically, has tormented and tortured my family specifically. In 1991, my father chose to use a gun and committed suicide. Fast forward about 15 years, in 2005, my closest friend and cousin was murdered as a senior at Clarion University. 2 years after that, my closest brother in age was murdered in Garfield. Fast forward to there in 2020, after all that happened, I chose to make a commitment with my life to not retaliate and give the same pain that was given to me and my family, but to try with everything in my might to not let another family have to experience that pain. And so I started to do this work of violence prevention by the grace of God, and it found me and Melvina Daniels on the same road. And in 2020, during the pandemic, my third best friend decided to try to live outside of what the norm was and throw a peace party in the community of Homewood. Over 400 people attended for 4 hours. In the last 10 minutes, my best friend was gunned down at this peace party and died in my arms. 2 months after that, my partner was serving a meal to one of her close friends Thanksgiving Eve and was shot 12 times. And she survived. So that story has compelled me and her on this destiny, on this road, to try to change as many lives as we can by our own stories, by changing that pain into our purpose, by letting folks know that there are so many other outlets and resources than picking up a gun and choosing to express your pain that way. And this is our own story. We just want to encourage all of those to stand arm in arm with us, to change as many lives as we can so no one experiences this type of pain. Thank y'all for your time. God bless.
I'd like to once again apologize to Mr. Rivers. Proper identification is important. Someone's name is important. And that is something, that form of a disrespect is something I will never want to do. Ms. Gina, when she was speaking, talked about the law and legislators. And I want to explain one of the things that she's talking about. There's the 2005 federal law it's called the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. It provides the firearm industry, the dealers, broad protection from lawsuits over their products' misuse. So that's one of the things that cities across America have been fighting for, the ability to file lawsuits because, as we all know, money talks. Individuals sometimes, companies sometimes only make changes when their pocketbooks start to hurt. They don't see the pain and suffering of families. My goodness, how many babies have been killed in school shootings? And yet we do not see the pain and suffering. These companies do not see the pain and suffering. And this is one way that hopefully, if we can all together get this law repealed, we'll be able to do something about it. Our next speaker we'll hear from is a mother. And I don't know how she's going to be able to stand here and speak, because she faced something no mother ever should face. Ms. Geraldine Massey lost 2 sons to gun violence in 1993. She is a community and family support therapist at the Center for the Victims. Ms. Geraldine.
Good afternoon. I'm grateful to God that I'm able to stand here and speak and give tribute to my sons' lives, that their lives, the loss of their lives actually catapulted me into the field of mental health. When my youngest son, who was murdered October 3rd, Gerald, he was 17, and people, the girls and the young men were on the streets crying, just crying. There wasn't enough adults to help them. There wasn't enough mental health to get to them. They were just out laying on the street crying. And it was at that point that I said, I have to do more. I have to make their lives mean something. And with the help of God, He guided me. He guided me back to school because I didn't have a degree. I went to the Center for Victims. They hired me. I started as an advocate. They supported me while I was learning and gathering all this stuff so I could be a therapist, so I can help. They supported me through that journey. And even though I lost 2 sons, in the recent years, I look back and I say, I have 10 grandsons and 3 great-grandsons. Nobody but God can do that. Nobody but God can take 2 and give you 10. So because of that, I keep on. This is my passion, to make sure that as many mothers that can not heal, there's no healing. I would teach them to manage their trauma symptoms, because once you lost a child, that hole never closes up. So I'm honored that we are giving honor and acknowledging the gun violence. 30 years later, here I am, and we're still fighting that fight. So that means that we're not winning. We really got to do more, and I think we're on the road to doing that. And so I'm grateful for all the agencies that are helping, all the mother groups that are helping. I'm just grateful that God has given me this opportunity to reinvent my life and to give honor to my sons' lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Geraldine. There is something about a mother's love that kind of moves through, and I don't want to just say mothers, but just family love. Mother, father, brother, sister. When we lose a loved one to gun violence especially, we work hard to keep their memory alive, not just in our hearts, but in the communities that they impacted. And I hope that with this recognition, with this proclamation, that we were able to do that. We have another individual I would like to bring forward, Beth Foreign. Yes.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you. It's amazing to see so many friends, community partners. Can everybody hear me? I know there's an echo whenever I stand over here. Great. Okay, so everything that I'm going to say, I brought some paperwork to back it up because I want to keep talking. It's really important for us to gather today to have these conversations but it's really important for us to continue acting and continue our calls to action and sharing this information with all of our peers. Gun violence prevention here in this room is able to reach all these different areas throughout the Pittsburgh region, and I'm really grateful to be partnering with so many, with the South Pittsburgh Coalition for Peace, my friend Eileen, with BPEP, with Coalition Against Violence, breaking this here, and Peace, the Peace is Possible Coalition. I know my friend IKEA with the Suicide Awareness for Everyone, Safe Allegheny County. We just spoke this week, and we'll be focusing on suicide prevention, specifically with firearms. I, too, am a gun violence survivor. I have had plenty of friends in rural Butler County complete suicide by firearm. That's due to impulse and access. It's the guns. Can we say that together? It's the guns. It's the guns. Thank you. So my title is Southwest Coordinator for Ceasefire PA. Ceasefire PA is not anti-gun. We are nonpartisan, but I'm here to tell you it's the guns. It's really important for us to continue these conversations. Let's keep the guns. If you are a responsible gun owner, fantastic, but let's support those gun safety measures, safe firearm storage, extreme risk protection orders, and universal background checks. Widely supported throughout the entire state, we need to have these conversations. We need to pressure our elected officials to support these gun safety bills. 2 of them are out of the House Judiciary Committee, out of the House, and sitting in the Senate Judiciary Committee for over 240 days. Nothing, no action has happened. I have information to help us take action, to help us have those conversations, and I have also information to help our survivors share their stories. Just as we said, money talks. Let's talk to the gun industry. Let's share these personal stories with the gun industry, with our peers, to understand what we're up against and what we're fed up with. So my name's Beth Foringer. Ceasefire PA's Pittsburgh office is just across the river. I invite you to have a conversation. I invite you to come to me with what we can do together. If I don't know you, I want to know you before I leave this room. I have plenty of information, and I'm here to keep this conversation going. So thank you very much. You want to leave it here? All right, I'm going to hold it up again.
I asked her to leave this because I want everyone to take a look at this. It's N gun violence. N gun violence. Okay? This is taking too many of our loved ones. Gun violence is an epidemic that we need to fight against the same way we fight against cancer, the same way we fight against diabetes, the same way we fight any health crisis. That's how we need to look at gun violence. Now, we've heard from individuals whose lives were touched by violence. I would like to introduce you now to the individuals. They're officials, but they have heart because they're part of this Gainey administration, starting with Public Safety Director Lee Schmidt.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us as we acknowledge the gun violence survivors in our region and across the nation. This week is a somber reminder of the lives forever changed by gun violence. This week is not just a commemoration, it's a call to action, a reminder of the urgent need for change in our communities and beyond. Let us unite our commitment addressing this issue and supporting those who have endured this tragic consequences. Survivors of gun violence carry a weight that many cannot fully comprehend. Folks read it on the news, they see an article, someone was shot, they chalk it up to crime, they chalk it up to the person's life. So that's not what it is. It's way beyond that. It's more than the life of the person who lost their life. It's also the life of the family, the neighborhood, the friends, even the first responders. The tragedy around the death of a human is not something that anyone should take lightly or think it belongs to one group of people. It belongs to the entire country, It belongs to everyone of every color, every generation, and every ethnicity. We need to look for comprehensive gun violence prevention measures. We need to continue to work for prevention, not just our response. As public safety, we respond to these all the time, but also we have a large group of people that we are continuing to increase that respond ahead of time to prevent violence from occurring. We have services to provide with our community, Office of Community Health and Safety, and our Trauma Survivors Assistance Program. We need to remember the victims. We have our outreach team. Reach is out there every day working with people, helping them find the assistance they need. We need just intelligence around guns. I grew up around them. I still own guns. Nobody's trying to take guns away from you. We're trying to just use common sense about keeping them safe, keeping them out of the hands of people that wish to do harm to either themselves or to others. Finally, I would just like to say, let's use this opportunity to once again amplify the voices of our survivors, advocate for change, and work together towards a future free from the devastating effects of gun violence. As we stand together during this week, let us embody these words and turn our collective grief into a force for positive transformation. Together, we can be the change, we can be the light, and we can honor the resilience of those who have faced the unimaginable. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Now we'll hear from the Chief of City of Pittsburgh, Chief of Police, Larry Scarrato. Sir.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. When I got here in May, I made it very clear that one of the number one priorities for the amount of time that I spend here is to reduce violence, specifically gun violence in our neighborhoods. I don't think that any neighborhood should be immune to the sound of gunfire. I don't think any neighborhood should get used to losing loved ones to gun violence based on the zip code in which they live. And in that I stood committed to getting to zero gun homicides in this city. And that's not hyperbole, that's intention. I go to sleep every night thinking about how we impact gun violence in this city. I wake up every morning thinking about how we impact gun violence in this city. I have this app on my phone, it's ShotSpotter, the technology we use to determine and identify when gunfires occurred in our city. And every time it goes off, I get a pit in my stomach, a pause, waiting for the next notification that says someone has been shot. And I don't and will not take that responsibility lightly. We had 48 souls taken from us in 2023 to gun violence. And they are souls. And it is the responsibility of us, the Bureau of Police, to hold those individuals accountable for senseless acts of violence in our community. But we need community to be a partner in that effort. And I can tell you, stand in front of you to tell you, we have had that level of connection and commitment and engagement with community. We have solved 76% of our homicides in 2023. Outperforming the national average almost by 25%. And it's because of the level of connection we have with community, the dedicated men and women that I have that investigate these terrible crimes. We seized 486 illegal firearms from our streets in 2023, again, holding those individuals most accountable, most responsible for violence in our city. So I stand in front of you to tell you that that work is tireless, but it is worth every minute of effort we put into to hold those individuals accountable for the violence they create in our city, because the families deserve it. Those souls that sit on my desk deserve that level of attention. So together, collectively, we can impact gun violence in this city. We can get to the mayor's commitment to you to zero homicides, and it won't be hyperbole. It won't be posturing. It'll be a reality that I know we can realize together if we continue on this effort together. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Now, to push back against gun violence, we're well aware that collaboration and partnership is necessary and recognize exactly what that means. We're thankful City Council recognizes the need as well to get to zero gun violence. And here, one of the City Council members, Carrot Mosley. Sir?
It's Kahari, but after 47 years, you know, as long as you're within the zip code, you pass the test. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really honored to be here to talk about such an important issue. I do want to thank the mayor for being here. Can we give a shout out to my big brother, Mayor Ed Gainey, for all the work that you do? Let's give him a round of applause. Want to thank Chief Scarato for being here, Director Schmidt, as well as I see two of my colleagues on City Council, Councilwoman Warwick and Councilwoman Strausberger. Thank you for being here as well. And like many people here, I've lost friends, I've lost family to gun violence, and even myself, you know, came within inches of being a victim of gun violence. You know, one night up at IUP, breaking up a fight between one of my friends and a member of the football team. We were breaking up a fight, and one of the football players pulled out a gun. And we started running, and 3 bullets whizzed past my head. And I will never forget the sound that a bullet makes as it cuts through the air within inches of your ear. And I played back that night many times, and that happened almost 30 years ago. So this is an issue that touches home in a real way. And I think it's so important, you know, to note, you know, not only the trauma to the victims, you know, of violence, but obviously the family members and those who are impacted when they lose a loved one, and also, you know, the trauma of the perpetrators. You know, I know, you know, many perpetrators, you know, of violent crimes who have turned their lives around. They talk about, you know, the trauma that they deal with and the guilt and the pain that they deal with, you know, when you perpetrate such a heinous crime. I just came from a meeting in Homewood that Commander Mercurio convened at the CEC Center, and there was a woman who lost a daughter and a son to gun violence there. And you know, over the last year, I've met so many people who have lost family members, and while it's heartbreaking, I'm also inspired by the way that they've dealt with it, like the Tina Fords who are here, like the Leon Fords who are here, who are true inspirations and lift me up, you know, and give me the strength to stand up, you know, for this issue. So I just want to say, you know, as a member of council, you know, I look forward to working with all of you to address this issue and do everything that we can as local legislators and work with our state legislators and our federal legislators, you know, to deal with this serious issue, because it's not just about, you know, preventing the lives lost, but it's also protecting the broken lives, those who have to live, you know, with the pain and trauma. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you to the mayor, and I look forward to working with all you on this very important issue.
Thank you, Councilperson Kahari Mosley. I always say it's very important to get people's names right. So if I make a mistake, I work hard to correct that mistake. Now, it is time for the presentation of the proclamation. I would like to bring up, and it's my honor to now introduce you to the community advisor to the mayor, Melvin Hubbard L., better known as Brother Mel.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, it's a pleasure to be here to have this opportunity to read this proclamation, but Sister Olga, I got to add one more name correction. It's Eel. So we're moving on down the road here. So everything is Donny Hathaway used to sing. If you know who he is, you know who he is. This proclamation, I'm thinking about presenting it at an occasion such as this, and all of the survivors who spoke today and what they've experienced in their life, continue to experience in their life, I thought it was proper to say some words to talk about how they have transformed their lives out of this tragedy. I just have a few words to describe that, and then I'll certainly read this proclamation to you. I want to say to Gina, I want to say to Brother Leon, Sister Malvina, Brother Vaughn, and Sister Geraldine. We appreciate you from the city for what you've done with your lives and transforming your lives. And this is how I describe it for you. You are remarkable, extraordinary, outstanding, exceptional, and incredible. Wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you agree? You're also astonishing, unbelievable, and amazing what you've done with your lives. And sensational. Not to leave out spectacular and fantastic, and also unforgettable. You're unique in your passion, impressive with your actions, and awesome with your personalities. Most of all phenomenal, marvelous, and out of this world, transformational leaders. Let's give them a hand, please. Just one more thing, Sister Olga, and I'm going to read it. I'm going to get down with this. I must say, as we talk about how gun violence has impacted our lives, I'm no stranger to it as well. In 2010, on a Sunday evening, I was sitting in my temple meeting. I heard these gunshots. Didn't know what the gunshots were. But later on that night, I found out that someone had shot from an AK-47 47 times in the back of a car and killed my great-nephew. But the thing about it, when Vaughn talked about and Leon talked about how they took the opportunity to kind of find the time to grieve and kind of heal on that, my particular grievance was around the person who did the shooting. It turned out to be a young man who was a mentor of mine, 30 seconds old, I hear you, in the Pittsburgh Public Schools, a student of mine, which really floored me at the time. I'm gonna do this quickly. Honor and uplift gun violence survivors. National Gun Violence Survivors Week. National Gun Violence Week, which is the 22nd of January through the 26th, is an opportunity to honor and support those who have affected by gun violence and to amplify their voices in pursuit of safer and more compassionate society. I'm gonna read down a little more. Whereas firearms are the leading cause of death for children and teens. Whereas the City of Pittsburgh recognizes that gun violence survivors' stories are a testament to the urgent need for comprehensive solutions to address the root causes of violence, including access to mental health services, common sense gun laws, and community-based violence prevention programs. And whereas during Gun Violence Survivor Week, we recommend and recommit ourselves to promoting healing, justice, and prevention efforts, working towards a future where no one in our city or nation has to endure the devastating consequences of gun violence. Now, therefore, can you say that with me? Now, therefore. No, it's now, therefore. Come on, now, therefore. I, not me, but Mayor Gainey, City of Pittsburgh, and President of Council, Dan Lavelle, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, January 24th, 2024, National Gun Violence Survivors Week in the City of Pittsburgh. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Mal. Now it's my honor to now introduce you to our mayor, the Honorable Ed Gainey.
Good afternoon, everybody. Before I begin, thank you. Before I begin, can I have all the mayors from across this region come up with me? All the council people from across this region that's in this council building to come up with me. Can I ask them all to come up with me, please? I asked all of them to come up with me. I think it's important that I allow them to introduce themselves because I need you to know just how this issue of violence has impacted our whole region. And I know a lot of times we don't see them fighting, but I know all of them personally, and I know how much they fight to ensure that our children and our communities have a safe life. And so what I'm gonna do is ask each one to just say their name and what neighborhood they're from, where their mayor or council person at, then I'll come back and I'll speak. But I want them so that you get a robust understanding of exactly how large this is. Whoever wants to go first.
Cletus Lee, Mayor of North Braddock.
Delia Lennon Winstead, Mayor of Braddock, PA.
Jolisa McDonald, Rankin Borough.
Dr. Kenya Johns, the Mayor of the City of Beaver Falls.
Erica Strasburger, Pittsburgh City Council, representing Squirrel Hill, Shady Side in Oakland.
Barb Warwick, Pittsburgh City Council, representing Greenfield, Hazelwood, Squirrel Hill, and the 31st Ward.
All the neighborhoods? It's a lot. Kahari Mosley, representing District 9, Garfield, Staten Heights, East Liberty, Larmer, Lincoln Leamington, East Hills, Homewood, Point Breeze, Regent Square, and Park Place.
I wanted you to see how many people here really do care. And I know that this is an issue throughout Allegheny County. You know, we're joining the Mayors Against Illegal Guns this week and recommitting, but I don't call it recommitting, continue to stand and stay focused and honoring the survivors with the true intentionality to stop gun violence. This is a national event, but I think it's important to recognize that we're bringing the mayors that you just heard from all across the city, council people from all across the city and county together. I like to ensure that we recognize them because I think it's important that people see that we're not standing in a silo situation, but we're working in unity. There's no separation, just unification, and trying to make sure that we save the lives of our young people. You've heard the members that have been mentioned: Tiffany Hutch Struthers, Geraldine Macy, Gina Pulowski, Vaughn Rivers, Leon Ford, Kahari Mosleys, and others. There's one that could not be here today that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. Her name is Valerie Dixon, a friend first. She's the Director of Family and Community Support at the Center for Victims of Founders of Prevent Another Crime Today initiative. She lost her son, Robert Dixon, to gun violence in 2001 and has made it a mission to prevent others from experiencing the same trauma that she had to go through. I also want to thank the Wear Orange Coalition, Ceasefire PA 8099, the GVI, faith-based leaders, the South Pittsburgh Coalition for Peace, and all those united this week to save our young people, to keep guns off of them, and ensure that everybody has a good quality of life. I also want to thank BPEP that I see here, Tim Stevens, for the years of services that he has put in to keep our city safe. I want to recognize our public safety director who's had an impact. In 2 years, Lee Smith has done a phenomenal job of working with organizations across the city to make sure that our neighborhoods are safe. And to our new chief of police, Chief Scarrato, you heard the numbers. 27 reduction in homicides in the city. You heard the number of guns that we have confiscated from the streets. He didn't come in and sit behind a desk. He came in and hit the streets. And you can feel the impact and the difference that he's made. Because the comment that he made that is true is that police can't do it alone. Community can't do it alone. But together we can save lives. Together we can save lives. I always tell my team that we don't work in silos, and as you can see, that's what you see today, no silos, just unification. And we're committed to ensuring that we have zero homicides in this city. But it's not because the government says it. It's because the community says it. It's because our community says enough is enough. There's situations I don't really talk about, but I'm gonna talk about it a little bit today. When I got a call from my father to go to North Lang Avenue because my sister had been shot, and to get there and to see my brother on the corner crying, I had never seen somebody be put in a body bag before. And to watch her be put in a body bag is an image that I don't wish on nobody. I don't wish on nobody. It's an image that don't go away. No, it don't go away. I've watched my dad raise her 3 kids. So when I tell you that my dad is my hero, I mean that. I watched him give up his retirement to be a father again. One of them is in college, the other one is doing great, but he still got to deal with the nightmares. He still got to wake up in the middle of the night with them when they're thinking about their mom, when they still ask the question why. They still got to go through it. You've heard of many families here today talk about the pain that they've had to deal with and the trauma that they've had to deal with in burying a loved one. And for them to be able to tell their story, I applaud them today. I applaud them for their tenaciousness to still be here and fight to save other lives. But as I always say, and I mean it, we only reduced homicides by 27% because the community said enough is enough. Enough is enough. And we still need everybody. The faith-based community. We got a church on almost every block, so every block should be safe. To the organizations every single day that get out there and fight for the lives of others, thank you. To the elected officials that continue to fight to change the law so that we can ensure that we have responsible gun ownership and that we're not losing lives but saving lives. I tell people all the time that when we put guns before our kids and make up all kinds of excuses with no reason, we're only lying for an alibi of mental health and not togetherness to make sure that we end trauma. But together we're trying to say to the gun owners, I don't want to take your gun, but we need responsible gun ownership to ensure the lives of our children, the lives of our community, and everybody else. This conversation about us against them is false. It's a narrative that's built on a lie. It's not about us against them. It's about how we ensure that the greatest planet on the earth, the most developed planet on the earth, is not the most violent. We don't have to be the most violent. And we can ensure that at the end of the day, if these manufacturers, these sellers don't want to help us get there, let's repeal the 2005 law and allow the cities the opportunity to sue manufacturers, to sue gun sellers, and watch how fast the game changes. Because when you hit them in their pockets to where they understand that my love for the one that I lost is just as great as your money that you're collecting on the death of others, we can change the game. We can change the game. But it takes all of us. I don't hate gun owners. I don't hate them. I don't dislike them. There's nothing wrong with us fighting for a safer society. There's nothing wrong with that. We should all want that. They talk about gun education. I talk about life education. The ability to live life in a world where you don't have to feel threatened enough to be able to carry a gun. There's so many developed nations where this doesn't happen. And in the nation that we consider to be the greatest, it should not happen here. And so as we go forward, I ask you, we couldn't have reduced the homicides unless we did one thing. Community, hear me. If you see something, if you see something, say something. If you're not sure, let's keep it 100. If you're not sure about the child in your house, and if he got guns or she got guns, call me. Call for help. Because it takes a community to solve this. We don't have to be ashamed if we ask for help. Because if we get it on the front end, we don't have trauma on the back end. We don't have to be ashamed. I applaud every survivor who got the courage to come up here today. The courage to come up here today and tell their story. And tell their story. And some people might say, oh, here we go again. They just want to take our Second Amendment right from us. I'm not here to take your Second Amendment right. I'm here to protect life. And I'm here that our children can have it more abundantly, where they don't feel the need to have to carry guns to protect themselves. There's a lot we have to change, but we can't do it alone. Everybody looks at the government and say, what are you going to do? I look at the people who elected us and say, what we going to do? What we going to do? Because unless we do it together, America's only changed when the people about the when the people about the pressure, so those that's getting profit have to change the way they do business. So as I tell my team every day, if you're tired taking that, get up and let's go get it.
Thank you, Mayor Gainey. And I hope people are listening it's about us against the problem, not us against each other. And to further amplify that message, I want you to remember that 2 incidents of possible youth violence at a school was prevented because community members called the police, fostered that relationship, and prevented the loss of lives. I would like to now again thank the Pittsburgh City Council members, Pittsburgh Public Safety, Pittsburgh Police, Wear Orange, Moms Demand Action, Ceasefire PA, AD 99, City of Pittsburgh Reach Team, GVI, Faith-Based Leaders, Black Mayors of Western Pennsylvania, the South Pittsburgh Coalition for Peace of South Pittsburgh, ACTES, Pittsburgh Peace is Possible Coalition, BPEP, Coalition Against Violence, Mayors Against Illegal Guns, NAMI, SAFE, which stands for Suicide Awareness for Everyone, and Suicide Prevention Task Force of Allegheny County. I thank everyone for coming out and hearing this serious message. Thank you. Be safe.